issue, many believe the world as we know it is set for doom and gloom and that we should pay to change it. Others say it's a scam of the century, and if the climate is changing, people are not to blame. And of course, as we approach the Copenhagen conference, our own parliament is set to strike a deal which could see taxpayers fork out for an emissions trading scheme or tax. To discuss climate change today, I'm delighted to be joined by Dr. Ben McNeil from the Climate Change or the Climate Research Centre at the University of New South Wales, and also Professor Ian Plimer from Adelaide University. Gentlemen, a very good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
If I may call you Ian and Ben, it may simplify things. Ben, are we experiencing climate change?
Well, over the last century, the world's warmed about 0.8 degrees Celsius, and we track these temperature changes across the world, and we know that humans are most likely causing those changes. We know what the sun's doing. We know it's not the sun. We know what the oceans are doing. We know what all the other factors are in terms of changing our climate, and it must be humans. That is, the greenhouse gases which are warming. We know they have the warming potential, and we are tracking that as we speak. The Arctic sea ice has plummeted 40%. The summer minimum has plummeted 40% in the last just 20 years. So we know that this is happening. All the indicators are suggesting we are experiencing rapid climate change. If we don't reduce greenhouse gas emissions, we're going to risk future generations.
So we are warming. And is climate change different to global warming?
Okay, traditionally the issue was, 10 years ago, people talked about global warming because that's what carbon dioxide, which is the main greenhouse gas, you put in the atmosphere, it'll warm the planet. Now, climate change is different in the sense that it actually isn't just about temperatures. It's about extreme events, rainfall, which temperature has a big role to play. So we've called it climate change because the extreme events, for example, fire, the fire risks that we've seen recently, also rainfall extremes, flooding and droughts are all related.
But Australia has experienced those to the very same degree 150
Oh, not the same degree.
ago.
So we're seeing tracking extreme events. So we're tracking...
So you believe the emissions are the key, humans have done it, and the world is dramatically set to change. If I could ask you to respond on that.
Well, climates always change. They always have. This is a dynamic planet, and we've had massive climate changes in the past which have been far greater and far quicker than anything that's measured today. We've had 6 major ice ages. 5 of those 6 have had carbon dioxide much, much higher than now, sometimes over 1,000 times higher than now. 2 of those 6 ice ages were at sea level and at the equator. What we are measuring today is nothing unusual. Now, what we heard was the normal misleading and deceptive conduct of the alarmists. Carbon dioxide is not the major greenhouse gas. It is water vapour, and it's clouds that cover 60% of the planet that have a real driving force on climate. And I think the climate alarmists have really damaged themselves by being alarmists, by using misleading, deceptive information, by not allowing this information to come out into the public, and by scaring us witless to be able to keep their climate institutes afloat.
So you say the emissions that we as humans for the last 100 years, let's call it, spewing this into the atmosphere is not the issue. You say it's been worse than that in the past.
Well, in the past, as in the present, we have an atmosphere that is changing all the time. The main greenhouse gas is water vapour. Carbon dioxide is a trace gas. So one decent volcanic eruption can do everything to the atmosphere.
How do you respond to that then?
Well, it's just simply not true in a sense. So this is Kerri-Anne, if you need to conduct, or say brain surgery, you need to go do brain surgery for some reason. You had this shocking disease. You don't go to a podiatrist to have opinions on your brain surgery. Ian is not a working climate scientist.
But he studies apart from Ian, I have read other...
There is no debate in the climate science community, Kerri-Anne. Unfortunately, this is a debate that is, I understand, is politically very sensitive, and that's why there's Ian's getting a lot of airtime, because it is invoking change.
He is getting as much airtime as you, but he has a different view, as many others do.
I look at the history of the planet, and the history of the planet says we are not living in unusual times. It is people's ego. Now, if the science is so strong, why is it that there has to be fraud that underpins this science?
This is not
and the great story that came out this weekend was one of fraud by the major climate centre in the world.
Okay. we're just going to take literally 1 minute and 30 seconds. If the climate is changing, will it have a dramatic, for whatever, whether it's natural, will it have a dramatic effect on life as we know it?
Climates always change. We humans live at the equator, we live in the tropics, we live in the ice sheets, we live in the deserts, we live at sea level. We are extremely adaptable, as are other organisms such as polar bears.
If the climate is changing and we get taxes, and we'll talk about Copenhagen after this break, how are those taxes going to fix it up?
Well, it's just taxes. What we're wanting to do is change from what we've done in the past is grow our economy with carbon-intensive forms of fuel. That's oil and coal. What we're doing now globally and in Australia is moving to an economic growth platform, but low carbon. That is low risk for the planet.
OK, I'll ask you to respond to that in just a moment. We are going to take a break. We've got the fabulous Curtis Stone, who's cooking up a storm in the corner there. But this is a very important issue, so we'll discuss it after this.
Everywhere you go, always take the weather with you. Everywhere you go, always.
Tonight, a look into the complex mind of a male. She's got